Hi guys, and welcome to my tutorial on Python. So if you don't have Python already installed into your system, just go to python.org and download Python. So the first thing you need to do is go to this downloads and download Python by pressing this button here if you are using Windows. If you are using a different operating system like Mac, just go to Mac here, which if you are using Mac. If you are using Linux, go to other platforms, then you'll be directed to a different page where you'll be able to download any version of Python for your specific operating system. So you need a text editor to write your Python code. So I'll be using PyCharm in this tutorial. So if you don't have PyCharm already, just head on to this URL here, or I'll leave a link or in the description if you want this specific text editor. So just download this community version, then we are good to go. So once you've installed these two programs, then we can start coding in Python. So just open the PyCharm text editor. If you do not know how to start using the PyCharm text editor, just comment below, then I will do a separate video on how you can set up your PyCharm and start writing Python. So these are the things that I'll be going through in this tutorial. So I'll be going through the print keyword, different data types in Python, variables in Python, operations, functions, arrays, objects or dictionary, and the conditions that are available in Python. So let's start with the print keyword. So to create, let me just leave a space there so we can have enough space to write our code. So the print keyword, this print keyword or the print function is used to output something on the screen. So let's say you want to output your name on the screen. So I will write my name here. I'll write my name real quick, so I can write my name there, so I can run this program. So now I will see my name printed on the screen there. So this print keyword or this print function is used to output something on the screen. So you just use the print keyword, then you use the open and close brackets there, then inside this brackets you can write something. So now that we got that done, we are done with the print keyword. You know that it's used to output something on the screen. We can go to, let me just do that here so that we can know we are done with that. We can go to different data types which are available in Python. The first one is a string. So I'll go through them one by one. So we have string, we have the number data type, we have the float data type, we have the boolean, I think it's double O, boolean data type, we have arrays, and so on. So let me just leave it at that to keep it simple. So we have numbers, we have floats, we have booleans, we have arrays, and we also have strings. So I'll start with strings. So to create a string, we use single quotes or double quotes. So inside this quotes, you can write anything, any meaningful data or any meaningful information inside here. So this is a string. So this is a string containing this text here. So that's it with strings. So numbers are any whole number like 4, 7, 10, 15, and so on. So floats are any decimal numbers, so like 6.7, sorry about that, 6.7, 5.89, or maybe 10, 10.4, any decimal number. So the booleans are true and false, true or false. So we have true and we have false. So it's true or false. Those are booleans that are available in Python or in any programming language. So we have arrays as well, which are defined by using the square brackets, and this inside this square brackets we can have strings, we can have numbers, we can have any float number, any data type basically inside this array. So an array is a list of items, so we can have a list of names, age, schools, or anything. So for example, here we just made a list of different data types here to demonstrate this. So now we are done with the data types. So now that we are done with the data types, we can now go to variables. So let me do this. So to create a variable, you just give it a name first. So for example, I can say name. Then if you want to assign this name something, you can say equal sign, then assign this name to something, assign it to my name there. So to create a variable, just first write the name of your variable, then the equal sign, then anything, any data type here. So I've used a string, as you can see, with this single quotes, then my name there. Name is equals to Katlego. I should see Katlego here on the screen, or let me write something like David so that I can avoid confusing you. So when I print this, I get David there. That's because name is equals to David. So when I print name, I get David. So that's how you can use variables to store information or data inside. So for example, I can say num1 equals to 76. So when I print num1 here, I should be able to see 76 as the output. So when I run this, I get 67. That's because num1 is equals to 67. So that's how you can create a variable and use them in your program. So now we are done with variables. So let's go to operations. So we have the minus operation or subtraction operation, we have the addition operation, we have the multiplication operation, we have the division operation, and we have the modulus operation, which is the remainder, which will get the remainder of a number, of two numbers. So for example, let's start with the, let me comment this out, and let me put this inside the bracket so that I can remember. So let me do that. So I can use the minus operation, so I can say result, I can just say rise for result, and let me say 10 minus 4. So when I print the result, on the screen, I should see the result of 10 minus 4, which is 6, right? So now we get 6 there. So we can use the addition sign, so we should get 14 as our result. As you can see, we can use the multiplication, so we should be able to see 40. We get 40 there. We can use the division, so 10 divided by 4, we should see the result of the division there. Then we get 2.5. so we can also use the modulus, which will give us the remainder of 10 divided by 4. So 10 divided by 4 is 2.5. So we should get the remainder of 10 divided by 4. So we get the remainder as 2. So 10 divided by 2, 10 divided by 4 give us the remainder of 2. That's how we get that. So that's it with the operations. So we are done with operations. So let's go to functions. So if you are familiar with another programming language like JavaScript, we first write the function keyword. If you want to make a function, then the name of your function, I can say this, my function, which is the name of our function. Then we use the opening and closing brackets. Then in JavaScript we use the the curly braces. Then inside this curly braces we can write our code. So Python makes it easy to create functions. You just throw in the def keyword, which means define a function for me. We are telling Python we want to define a function. So I can do the same thing, like say my function. Then I can use the closing and the opening and the closing brackets. Then instead of using the curly braces in Python, we use the colon. Then we press enter. Then let me just do some space here. So once we press enter after this colon, Python adds some 4 spaces before this cursor here. There's 4 spaces here. So that's indentation in Python. So we'll be able to write our code here. So we can say something like print. We can print hello world here. You can say hello world. Then that's it. You've created a function. So you might be asking, why should we create a function? So we create a function so that we can call it somewhere in our application or in our program. So now we can call our function by just using its name and using the closing and the opening and closing brackets there. Then we can run this. Then we should see hello world there, which is the result of this print statement here. So when we call this function, we just use its name, then the opening and the closing brackets, then we get this output there. So we can also use some arguments here. I'll keep it simple like that. So instead of printing this, we can instead return. So because below here we are calling this function and we've not entered these 2 arguments here. So let me explain this simply. So we've created 2 arguments inside the function called my function, which is x and y, right? So inside this function we are returning the addition of two arguments, which are x and y. So if we call this function without entering anything inside here, we will get an error. So let me show you. So now we get an error that says my function is missing 2 required positional arguments, which are x and y. So now to avoid getting this error, we should enter 2 arguments inside here. So we can say 5 and 7. So when we do this 5 will be the same as x and this 7 will be the same as y. So because inside this function we are adding x and y, so 5 will be added to 7. Then we should see the results of those 2 addition of adding those 2 arguments. So we are not getting anything, and that's because we have not used the print keyword. So let's say print that. So we should be able to see results here. So we are getting 12, and that's because 5 plus 7 is 12. So you should make sure you don't forget the arguments when we call this function, because those are needed. Like I said, 5 corresponds to x and 7 corresponds to y, and here we are adding them. So that's why we get 12 there, and that's because 5 plus 7 is 12. So now we are done with functions. We can now go to arrays. So let me be real quick. So to create an array, you just give it a name. So I can say my array equals to, like I said, to create an array you just have to use the square brackets. So you use the square brackets, then you can enter any data type in here. So in this array, let me just enter random names: David, John, and my name. which is Katleo. Then I'll enter my name there. Then after that, you might be asking, what is the importance of just creating this array? So to create an array, after creating an array, if you want to access all those elements inside this array, we can use the print function to see all those elements. So I can say print my array, so we should see this exact array there in this output. So as you can see, we get this array there. So you might also be asking, how can I be able to get each individual element in the array? So to get each individual element, we use the square brackets notation. So after we set the name of the array, at the end we use square brackets. Then inside the square brackets, we use what we call an index. So in Python or in any programming language, we start counting from 0, not 1. So this is at position 0, this is position 1, this is position 2. So if you want to access David, we have to use 0 because David is at position 0. So when we print this, we get David. So to get Katleo, we have to use 2 because, like I said, we start counting from 0. So it's 1 0 1 2. So when we print this, we should be able to see Katleo there on the screen. So that's how you can access each individual element in the array. So because I will not be explaining what I'm about to do, but if you want to, let's say for example, you want to get each individual element being printed on the screen but without getting it written like this, like I did for the first time when I used the print statement, and inside the print statement I've entered my array. So to get each individual element on its separate line, we can use the for loop, like I can say for name for name in my array, then I can say print each individual name. So let me just explain it real quick. So I'm saying split this array in each individual element. So this name will have David, John, and Katleo, this name here. So we are splitting my array into individual elements. So these elements will be stored in the variable name. So when we print this, we should see each element in separate lines. So we get David, John, and Katleo. So that's a for loop, but I will not be, like I said, I want to keep this simple because it's a short video to introduce you to Python. So when we are done with the arrays, so let's go to objects. So to create an object or a dictionary, you just do the same thing like an array. So you can say my object is equals to, instead of using the square brackets, we use the curly braces. Then inside here we can do something like num1, then we use a colon at the end there. Then I can say 71, then comma, num2, then 9. So what I did here is I used the curly braces to tell Python I'm creating a dictionary called my obj. So num1, just like in a dictionary, when we want to access each individual term, we search for the term, then we get the definition of that term. So when we search for num1, we will get 71 as our definition. Num2, we get 9 as our definition. So I can say print my obj. So we'll get everything, we get that object printed on the screen. So we get this object. So if you want to access 71, we use the square brackets notation as well. So we use the square brackets. So instead of using an index to get an element or the key or the value, we use the keys instead of using the index. We use the keys. So this key num1 has the value of 71. They are separated by this colon. So we are saying num1 is the key which has the value of 71. Num2 is the key which has the value of 9. So here we have to say num1. Then if we print this, we should get 71 printed on the screen. So we get 71. So if we want the second, we want 9, we want to see 9, we should write num2. Then we should be able to see 9 printed on the screen there. So that's how you can access elements inside an object. So we are done with dictionaries. So let's go to the if-else statements. So to create an if-else statement, you just say if this, then if this, then do this. So that's the basic explanation. So we are saying if this is true, then do this. Otherwise, the else statement comes here. So we are saying otherwise, if this is not true, then do this. So let me say if the if statement is not true, then do this. So that's basically how it works. So if this is true, do this. Otherwise, if this if statement fails, then it will come to this statement, then this will happen. So let me get into the programming. So I can say if let me say something like age equals to 18, I can say if age is less than 18, then print you are still young. Then I can say an else statement, else print you are old enough. So what we did here is we've created a variable, and this variable contains the age of a person. So we are checking if the age of this person is less than 18, then tell this person you are still young. Otherwise, this else statement means otherwise. If this statement fails, come to this else statement and tell them you are old enough. So if I run this, you will see you are old enough. So we are getting you are old enough because the age of this person is 18. So this if statement fails this statement. So we are checking if the age of this person is less than 18. In our case, this person's age is not less than 18. So this will be ignored. This whole thing will be ignored here. So it will go down here and print this. So that's how you can do the if else statement. So we can also add something like elif age equals to 18, then we have to use double equal sign there. If age is equals to 18, print tell this person you are just turning old. So now if I run this, we are no longer getting you are old enough, but we are getting you are just turning old. So let me explain what's going on here. So we are checking if the age of this person is less than 18, do this. So because this person's age is 18, it's not less than 18, but it's 18, so this whole thing will be ignored here. So it will go down and check other statements that are available. So it will go here. If this person's age is equal to 18, which in our case it is equal to 18, so this statement will be executed, this print statement here, and this whole thing will be ignored. But if we change this to something like 15 and we run this, now we are getting you're old enough, and that's because these two statements, the if statement and the elif statements, are false. So it will go here and print you are old enough, even though this person is not old enough because he's 15 years old. So it will just go to this else statement because these above statements are false. So that's the if, elif, and else statements. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you've learned something in this video. So if you want a full tutorial on Python, just comment down below, then I'll make a full tutorial so that you can learn all the basics of Python. So thank you for watching this video. Bye.